all for joining us today. My presentation is going to be on what is new in Sage 2018, the Sage100cloud. We're going to look at global and desktop enhancements, some changes to accounts payable and receivable, inventory, job cost, and barcode, visual integrator, paperless office, and crystal reports. We're going to talk briefly about payroll, and time permitting, I will show you the new version, and then a quick what's next for version 2018 in the next releases. The first thing that we have is there's new inline spell check. So if you misspell a word, it's underlined in red, and you have an option to select a replacement word. There'll be a drop down. You can add the word to your personal dictionary, or you can ignore any instances of that word while you have that specific task open. And this is what it looks like. Can everybody see this? Okay. So what it does is it shows you here, and then here's your list of here are your other options to pick. You can add it to the dictionary, or you can ignore it at all times. It's added to the following menus for memos, messages, paperless office, delivery windows, comments, notes. It also has spell checking available for multi-line user-defined fields. There's also a service notification maintenance, and that determines who receives emails from Sage to let you know about maintenance, unplanned outages. Right now it's only here for payroll, but it will be added to in the future. You have to set up at least one notification, or you will keep getting a message that tells you that you need to set it up. For the desktop, we have a new toolbar here that's added to the top right-hand corner. If you want to minimize the toolbar, and you can see at the bottom, this is what it looks like when you minimize it. You also have a new tab for web content that's added to the ribbon. You have an open in new window checkbox in the link windows and views. And when you select this, the web page opens in your default browser, not the browser that's embedded in Sage. There's also navigation buttons in the upper right-hand corner so you can go back and forth. You can also set up your own web pages in here. I have a SWK Technologies one set up. For accounts payable, there's some 1099 tax reporting changes. The 1099 e-filing and reporting has been renamed to Form 1099 tax reporting. The minimum year-to-date payment field is replaced with a minimum year-to-date button, which opens up to another screen, which allows you to put your minimum year-to-date payment information for all of the different types of 1099 payments. In accounts receivable, there are new fields in the pay cycle window when you're updating the commission register. This is part of the payroll update. There's a period starting date and a check date that have been added. For inventory, one of the big things that I'm excited about is now you can make warehouses inactive. I know a lot of people want to delete them or hide them or get rid of them, and you can't because of the history. Well, now you have 3 different statuses that are available. Active for your current warehouses, inactive. You can't have any stock or any orders to make when you make them inactive. You can have them displayed in your lookups, or you can choose not to. And you also have a status of restricted, which allows you to temporarily put that warehouse on hold so you can't do any postings into it. You have a starting and ending restricted date, so if you're doing physical count and you don't want anybody to update into that warehouse while you're doing that, you can set this up. You can also override it if you actually need to post into it at that particular time. Job cost has been brought up to the framework. You've got new data entry grids, like the other modules that have been brought up. There's selection grids available for most of the report windows, hyperlinks for related tasks. There's calculator buttons now for the dollar amounts and calendar buttons for the dates. And as you can see, it's a new look. There's also batch entry for job posting, job billing, and field report entry. And history can be retained for a set number of years. It defaults to 2, but you can keep it as long as you want. There's also a utilities menu that has the archiving, restoring, and purging options available. And it's also updated for the number of years option. There's new job cost reports. Everything is written in Crystal now. You can have multiple versions of the same report. You just save a copy of it, customize it to however you want, and you can use that. There's selection grids, and you also have at the bottom the keep window open after printing or after preview like you have on your other modules. In period end processing, you can set up which reports you want to print during your period end processing, and then when you do the period end processing, there's a little box here that says print the period end reports, and then it brings up the list that you have populated, and then you can choose to print or not to print at that time. Barcode's been renamed. It's now called Mobility for Barcode, and it includes a number of days to retain import history. The Mobility Remote Setup for ScanCode mobile app task has been added for Apple and Android devices, and ScanCode will be doing a presentation immediately following mine to talk more about this. It's now named Easy Import. You can do inventory, sales order, purchase order, bill of material imports just like you could before. There's an Easy Import inquiry for viewing and printing. There is a Easy Import reject maintenance screen which comes up in a grid, and you can delete entries in there that aren't valid before you do your update. You also have specific reporting for the imports, the history, and the rejections. Visual Integrator has been changed so that you can control who has access to VI jobs. Each of these modules now in role maintenance has the option to allow export and importing through VI. So you would just go into role maintenance, select each of the modules, go into module options, and pick one of these 2 choices here. Paperless Office has added some new functionality. You can now create email employee payroll checks in PDF format. And you have a little paperless button where you can set up the information. The form maintenance, the check option has now been added for paperless so that you can view it. There's a new employee view task added, so you can select check or direct deposits in the form type. And there's also an employee self-service. There's a view documents button, which replaces the view stubs, which opens in the employee viewer window of Paperless. Crystal Reports is now shipping 2016 version with Sage. There's a few changes that are available now. For boxes and lines prior to this, you could only create. You know, the only thing you could decide is what color do I want it to be and how thick do I want it to be. If you wanted to format it, say the field inside you wanted to suppress, the box still stayed there and there was nothing you could do about it, or the line. Now you have the option over on the right-hand side to conditionally suppress it, or you can suppress the whole thing. You also have vertical text alignment, so if you're doing crystal reports and you have text that's going down instead of across, you can change that. 90 degrees, 270 degrees, goes into a counterclockwise direction for alignment. The other thing that's available too is parameters. When you set up selections during your crystal reporting, you never really used to be able to print the descriptions easily. Now it has the get value descriptions option available, where you can go in for any data type and it will print a value if you select discrete, an array if you select multiple, range, or an array of string range. Payroll has been completely updated. It doesn't use the same numbering version as Sage does, so you see 2017.09 for version 2018. It's got new entry grids, new selection grids for reporting, calendar buttons, hyperlinks. The time card module isn't currently compatible with payroll, but it's scheduled to be released in the March 20 product update. One of the big things that payroll has done is the encrypted data. The personally identifiable information is now encrypted. Names, phone numbers, email addresses, social security numbers, bank accounts, and routing numbers. The ability to view and edit this information is now controlled by role security. If a user doesn't have rights, all that information will be masked on reports and in task windows. Visual Integrator also uses this security to determine what can be imported and exported. You also cannot see any PII in data file display and maintenance anymore. It is all encrypted. When adding a report using the menu wizard, you have the option to include the PII work table, but it cannot be accessed via external reporting. So your data is secure. What's next for version 2018? Got the product roadmap, which we will be doing a deeper dive later in the day here. As you can see, time card is coming up. Work order is going to be brought up to the framework. And how am I doing on time? Okay? All right. So we're going to get out of this, and I'm going to show you the new version of payroll. So in payroll, you have a new look to the screens and a new look to the tabs. We've added a bunch of features in here and enhanced a lot of the fields. The last name field has been expanded, the first name field. Oh, can you see this? Okay, there we go. That makes it easier. So they've changed the tabs around, so now you have, with the employee master file, you've got an additional tab, benefits tab, a taxes tab, pay defaults. This has veterans and military service separation has been added. There's 2 emergency contacts now added. You have your benefits schedule here for your pension plans, your taxes screen, pay defaults, and you have multiple pay rates instead of just the 1 or 2 that you had before. Now it's been expanded to 9 different pay rates. Your earnings, your deductions, and your pay history. There's also a more button with your ACA employee, direct deposit, and your tax summary. One of the big things that they've done is there's no longer any more tax table updates. They have changed it so that it's all going to be done through the e-filing updates. So year end, no more IRBs, no more tax tables every time they come in. When you update using the Atrix e-filing, it's going to automatically update all your tax tables. The other thing that they've done is they've saved history. So what happens now is there's no more year end, you have to close it, you have to go and make a copy of it, it automatically, based on your period, knows to do the year end. You can also do batch processing, so you can have multiple payrolls open at the same time. More than one person can be in the same batch doing payroll entry. You can't move data from one batch to another, but you can, and you can only post one batch at a time, but you can still have payroll for this week and last week, or for 2 different departments open at the same time. So it makes it a lot easier. They've also changed the benefits. So we used to have 3 in there that was always named vacation, sick, and another one to be defined. Now they call them time off. You can change the names of those so that they can be anything you want, because a lot of people have gotten away from vacation and sick and just have one called PTO. So they brought that up. They've also changed the employee calculation for benefits. Now it rounds to 3 decimals, and then it does the update on it, so it's a more reliable calculation. In department code maintenance, the field has been expanded from 2 to 6 characters, and the description has been expanded to 30 characters. They've got deduction and security codes added here. They've also, there's also a tax roll now, and the tax table maintenance that you had before has been changed. It's more like the sales tax setup where you have different groups so that you can bundle them all together. You can have multiple local codes, so if somebody works in one state, lives in another, or one area and lives in another, instead of having to go through the way that you used to do it, they've changed that. Earnings codes is also changed. They've expanded the codes from 2 to 6, the descriptions to 30, and there's also a new checkbox in here. There's a new checkbox, apply to box 14 on the W-2s, and the tax rules replace the subject of federal and state. You can have multiple tax profiles in data entry. There's a default state code, require local tax reporting. In the entries tab, the entry grid looks completely different. It's been updated to the latest. Here, we have a period end date, start date, and the check date. We have more information on there, and you can, there's also options to recalculate the deductions in data entry and remove any earning lines with 0 amounts. You have a history now where you can save your payroll for as many years as you want. It defaults to 4 years. So you have that. You also have enhanced memo functionality. You have company tax rates. The calculation for payroll taxes uses the whole tax profile maintenance that would take me forever to go through, but if anybody wants to see afterwards, come and see me and I can show you all of this. And that's it for 2018. Brief overview. Thank you very much.